And we're live. Hi, and welcome to Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with OnlyFans content creator, comedian, and pianist, Twunk The Twink. How you doing today, sexy?
I'm really good. How are you?
I am good. Work. So, what was it like for you growing up as a kid in Boca Raton?
So, like the secretly gay Jewish kid at a private school, bullied like hell. It was such a weird upbringing because I was super rich, not anymore. But everyone was like so mean to me. So I just like stayed with my family. And I don't know. It was a weird upbringing.
See, I get that. We're talking about. I will say this. I would have loved to have grown up in a bigger city. I'm from small suburb South Florida, so I'm like an hour north of West Palm Beach. So like there was nothing going on here. I live at home now. There's still nothing going on here. One of the reasons I want to move, but it's just as I always say, I have the duality of like having a religious upbringing, but in some ways my mom was the one who introduced me to Madonna. She introduced me to Joan Rivers. She introduced me to like Donna Summer, all this stuff. So it's like I had that duality, but I also had that like strict religious Catholic upbringing.
That's so funny you mentioned those three because those were the three my mom introduced me to.
Yes.
But Joan Rivers was her favorite. Like, that was one of my inspirations growing up.
I remember when my mom introduced me to it was on Bravo when I was 12. There's a Joan Rivers special. And she's like, this isn't what the old Joan Rivers was because half the special was censored. I'm like, I fucking love this.
She's a genius.
Yes. I know, rest her. That's one thing. That's one person I wish I would have gotten to see live before she passed away.
Yeah.
Like, like I have not been. I have never been to a comedy show. I would not be opposed to it. It's like I also wouldn't be opposed to doing comedy either. Like that's one of the things. Like, granted, yes, I'm primarily a musician in drag, but it's like I can, I can do comedy theoretically. Like,
I couldn't do it like on a stage. I'm more like I'm off the cusp. Like I need it. I can't do pre-written. It has to be mostly like freestyle, otherwise it isn't real for me. So I
you
I
can
know I couldn't do stage.
you can absolutely freestyle on stage. What you do is what I heard some people say is like what you do if you want to freestyle is you do like bullet points and then like so let's just say you wanted to like talk about vaginas. You like write on a piece of paper vagina and then like from there you just like freestyle a joke. So I mean you could do that.
That actually makes sense. I also would
Yeah.
love to do crowd work, but every one of my favorite crowd work comedians keeps getting canceled, so I'm like, I can't tell my inspirations.
Well, I know one of them and one of them because you stupidly said it on your live and I think like
I know.
he was funny before, but I don't think he's like that funny anymore. He's trying to be like too conservative.
I agree with that. He was
Yeah.
a lot funnier when I first saw him.
That's why like all of well, I mean, well, Joan Rivers is like the queen of being canceled. Like and like half the stuff she said now you couldn't say.
Yeah.
But I look back at actually when I'm bored at work, so I work unfortunately to pay the bills, I work at a call center. So it's like in between calls, I'll have like old like episodes of the Howard Stern show playing and you listen to stuff from 2006, that stuff would never fly today. Like it was the amount of like homo somewhat homophobic and racial material that like you could get away with in 2006 would not fly today at all.
Do you
And
remember Lisa Lampanelli? Was she from
of
your time?
course, yeah.
She would not fly. I think every single one of her jokes would not fly nowadays.
I love I love Lisa Lampanelli, like, but everyone's like with that because the thing is, it's like I think what people don't understand is the difference between like actually racist like people and comedy. There's two different things. Like Lisa Lampanelli wasn't racist. I don't see like anything that she did was racist. Like
Agreed.
Joan Rivers wasn't racist. It's just it was a different way. Although I will say for you as a comedian it's harder. I feel like as a drag queen I could get away with a little bit more. Like
There's so many jokes I've written where I'm like, I'm gonna just share it with my roommate. I'm like, I can't share this with anyone else.
well
Some of them were about Jeffree Star. Let's just say that.
you could say anything about Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star is canceled. Like you could
Again,
say has he ever been uncanceled? I feel like that's just like one person who's just like ridden the wave of like
it's kind of weird.
being
Like he goes down, but I feel like down for him is like up for us based on his like following. But after he went like vegan, he was vegan, and then he's like, by the way, I'm starting selling meat. I was like, okay, I don't get this.
well that's because this is the thing I will say about Jeffree Star. It's LA. It's why I knew like even when I said I was thinking about moving to LA, it's why I knew I could never do it. Because I'm like, you have to be so like the person who's like, oh my god, even when somebody sucks, oh my god, babe, you did so amazing. Like work, like love what you do. Just go out there and do your thing and like keep on going and like work. I'm the person to be like, who the fuck told you that you could do that? Like, you untalented, you untalented motherfucker, get the fuck off the stage. Like, but that's
That's so
that.
funny. I could see you being like Bianca with a little bit of Chi-Chi where it's like, I'm gonna be mean, but I'm gonna be really funny about it.
Well, one of my like favorite jokes, theoretically, this could get some people canceled. Like, I think this joke is funny. Like, so at one point, I have a history of being with black guys because like I started having sex in the hood. So like when I lived in Orlando, so it was like let's just say I've been with 1, 2, 5, 10 black guys, like nothing extreme. And my joke is that I've been fucked by so many black guys, my ass is a stop on the Underground Railroad.
I'm gonna try not to laugh on camera.
You can laugh on camera, I don't fucking care. Like,
I heard a really fucked up one on TikTok. Can I tell you?
no.
It was I went to a paraplegic strip club the other day. The place was crawling with pussy. I died when I heard that.
And that's the thing, it's like to be so like everyone's like in the like politically correct things. My thing is like to me, it's like first of all, that is a historical joke, and like my joke, and it's like that's a historical joke, and it's like that's just pointing out the racist ways of Florida. I don't or of the South. Like I don't think any of that shit was good.
I will say, I do get annoyed when not like about that joke, just
Yeah,
like in general with like comedy being suppressed about certain things because it's not politics. I'm not having
yeah,
a say in your policy with having these thoughts. I'm here to make people laugh. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And if I have an audience, I'm obviously making some people happy. You could just scroll. I don't affect your finances, anything.
No, and everyone's like But with some people, what is it? Like, first of all, comedy is very subjective. We're getting back on the questions in a minute. This is the thing. I have to keep on focus. My thing with this podcast is, especially when I get along with somebody, I have a tendency to go on tangents. Like, but we'll roll with it anyway. So it's like, the thing is, first of all, comedy is subjective. Like, there are some people who like love, what was it? Even like as he was getting canceled, I had like my best friend who's also gay show me this like special of Dave Chappelle, and I'm like, this is not funny to me. And this was like old Dave Chappelle. I'm like, this is supposed to be funny, but I'm not laughing. Like, I don't get it. Like,
I haven't really seen his stuff, honestly. I know a lot of people hated him, but I've never seen him since I was a little kid when he had Dave Chappelle show.
yeah. Okay, I'm trying to figure out. So how much I'm gonna say this. I feel like you and I are like around the same age. Like,
We revealed our age with saying Lisa Lampanelli and all these people. I'm
well,
32.
okay, so I'm gonna be 30 this year. I'm 29. So like, but it's like with that, I mean, granted, the toxic gay standard. You know what? Fuck this. I need to shut up. I'm gonna go back to the questions. Where the fuck am I? Oh, there we go. So, what was it like for you coming out?
It was so like I didn't know I was gay, but I sucked some stuff along the way and I was like, "No, this isn't me. I don't like it." And then I remember my last date with a girl, so out of my league. Like when I wrote her, I was like, "Oh my god, you look like Charlize Theron." And she's like, "No one's ever told me that." And then like thinking back, I was like, "Oh, that was so gay." And when we had sex, I thought about Tom Daly's coming out video, and I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Okay." So I called my dad, and I was like, "Dad," I was like, "I think I don't like sex." And he's like, "Really?" And I was like, "No, I'm gay. I have a boyfriend." And he started cracking up. And that was my coming out. Like literally all his friends are gay. He works in the art industry.
See, for me, overall, like, this is one thing that we have in common, if I remember correctly. Your mom's not alive anymore either, right? From what I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah. So like, my mom passed away like 4 months before I came out. So like, it was having to come out to my dad, and then I have an older sister. My older sister was super accepting. Fast forward to uh at least from what I remember, November of last year, and she came out herself. So I'm thinking, in some ways, I'm like, oh, that makes sense now. But also in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you're welcome, bitch. Like,
I led the way. You're welcome.
because that's the good part. The bad part was to that religious upbringing. So I came out to a youth minister at the church, and I told him about this performance idea I had with like a knife and how I'd practice stabbing myself because I'm dramatic, clearly.
Why not?
And he left the room. He came back in about 10 minutes later. He said, okay, you have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops.
He gaslighted you.
Now, in hindsight, yes. In hindsight, I would have let the cops come because he took me to get a psych eval. They had told me I had passed it, and I was like on the phone with my dad, and I'm like, "Yeah, come back here and get me." Like I was at the hospital. I'm like, "Yeah, come back here and get me." And then like as I was on the phone, I had a cop yell at me. He's like, "Get off the phone!" I'm thinking, I'm like, "What the fuck?" And then they put me in a hospital room, and then for 5 hours they didn't tell me anything. And then like 2 o'clock in the morning, So I was brought in on a Friday, like 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. They told me that they had Baker acted me, which when they put you on a suicide hold. And I was transported to a behavioral clinic where I had to spend 64 hours till, what was it? The weekend. The weekend psychiatrist was a dick. I have no problem saying that because he was like, playing with knives is dangerous. I'm like, I know that. Like, I knew what the fuck I was doing. Like, I'm not an idiot. And like, then I met with a weekday psychiatrist. He saw me once. He said, "You're free to go," basically. And then like, after I got out, I got trapped in a room with a youth minister and a priest who set me up with a therapist who tried to pray the gay away.
Not okay.
Yeah,
That's fucked up. I'm sorry.
thank you. See, to that, now to the comedy part, the one thing that I will say, this is like, so there was this like lady in there who like, I thought this was like so funny. There's this lady in there who made like flowers out of like cigarette cartons. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, I'm like, where the fuck am I? Like,
I can't believe they used your artistic idea
yeah,
against you as like a unalive type of thing, you know?
yeah,
That's horrible.
yes. And it's like, at that point, I was fine. Like, I wasn't actually suicidal. Probably so like for the first time a year later, and then like for the second time, it's like 3 years after that. And like in between, I'm an artist. Like I say, I also in that time, like between 18 and 25, I said suicidal twice. I was raped as like my first sexual experience, and I got sexually assaulted in drag at the age of like 25. So it's like, with all that, I came up with the album that I'm planning on putting out later this year, where I just put all of it into the music. And it's like, for me, I don't know about you as an artist, I wouldn't change a single fucking thing that happened to me.
It made you who you are today.
Yeah,
And it's going to be beautiful when you pour that out in your music. I'm sorry you had that experience.
thank you. Thank you. I mean, for me, and I'm so honest about it, that's the one thing that I will say to most gay people, not to everyone. Most gays are afraid to be vulnerable and real. They want to like gaslight people. And it's like, to a former friend of mine who was also, he calls himself a musician. I would say he's an underwear model who makes music. He's an underwear and OnlyFans content creator who makes music. Because like, this was the thing. He went on here, like, he had been on here 4 times, and on his 4th time, he's like, I'm moving on past OnlyFans. I changed my stage name, blah 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 blah. I'm no longer an underwear model. Fast forward to 2 months later, he's back on OnlyFans. He's back to underwear modeling, and he cut me off.
Just like cut you off out of nowhere.
Yeah,
That's fucked.
like I looked at that and I'm like, because something in me was like, I went to go like look at my followers because sometimes I do this, and I realized like I had lost 2 followers, and I just, something told me to like type in his name, and it said user not found, and I'm like, oh, and then I saw that his Instagram profile was still up, and I'm like, that's shady as fuck. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, if you have a problem with like, and I know why. I think I know why he unfollowed me, because I said, which is what I believe for him. I said, some people view being a musician as wearing a hat. As in, they'll wear it when it's convenient and then they'll take it off. I am always a pure artist. And I was absolutely talking about him. I didn't add him or anything. I'm not a bitch. But like, but I'm like, it's like after that, I'm like, oh, I say for me with that, it's like I was upset in the moment. It's like, but at the end of the day, I had to be like, you know what, babe? I wish you the best. Like, good luck. You're probably gonna come crawling back to me once like you're done doing OnlyFans, like basically exploiting your relationship with your man once your fans outgrow that and everyone starts unsubscribing and you start losing money. It's like then you're gonna try and be an artist. And it's like, I might take you back in, but I'm not gonna support you the way that I used to.
I
Because
get
to
why you
me,
say the artist thing because what I
yeah,
think what you do, I feel like you're maybe an overworker like me, and you put it like really, really into your artistry. So when you see like,
absolutely.
yeah, because when you see other people not putting their heart into it, but then they call themselves the same title as you, as
Yeah.
if, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Like he put out in this is the thing that kills me. It's like literally one of the most talented musicians I have ever heard. And it's like to back off that to be another, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love models, but it's like to be the same basic ass white male model. It's like, bitch, literally if somebody said like, where's a white gay model with abs? It's like literally, it's like, go look over there. It's like looking at a fucking Xerox machine. Like
Yeah,
literally, they're a dime a dozen. It's like to be an artist. It's like you don't know. Like that's even why, like as an artist, like I've found a way to do both. Granted, this takes up more of my time, but that's because I'm trying to put out like so much content now. So that way, when I actually move to Detroit and I have to take off a few weeks, it's not going to hurt
right.
as much. Because everyone who's like, how's he going to do it? It's like, here's how it's going to be, motherfuckers. It's literally going to be like, I'm going to disappear off social media for a bit. Then all of a sudden, I'm going to start taking pictures. I'm in Detroit. I live here now.
I love that.
That's my thing. I love when people like announce their moves. It's like anyone who needs to know that I'm moving, it's like we'll probably have lunch or a Zoom session where I'm eating food if it gets down to that. Like,
But you need a caption, so of course, guess where I moved? And it's like the best picture, the sun on their eyes, everything. They just suddenly moved, and it's just they look perfect. It's like just right. What's up?
see, my whole thing with that is it's like the one thing that I love about Detroit, and everyone's like, it gets cold in Detroit. I'm like, I know. Why do you think I'm moving there? You know this. I don't know what it was like in Jacksonville, but in South Florida, there was no winter. Like,
It's so hot.
there was like a week at most. It's like, for me, it's like, everyone's like, but it gets in the 40s. I'm like, or in the like 20s. I'm like, that to me sounds great.
I remember in
Literally.
South Florida before like the school bus, I was just sweating walking to
Yeah.
the stop sign. That's literally two apartments down from mine. I don't mean a complex. I mean like walking two staircases away, and I'm like fanning myself like it's horrible.
Yes. And
This
it's
was at
like,
30 a.m. Like there was no sun out yet.
exactly. It's like, for me, like, in a house, like, putting on my makeup today, like, when I came into my bedroom from the bathroom, my legs were covered in sweat. Like, and again, it's April. Like, I'm planning on moving in June, and I'm like, that'll be like the perfect time to leave Florida and like move to Detroit, because it's like Florida's gonna be like 95 degrees outside. This is my thing. This is how I dress as as like a person. It's like either I dress like in pants like all year for like my professional stuff, and then like as a performer I dress half naked. Like,
So we're the
I literally,
opposite. I do it the reverse. I'm half naked in real life and then professional on TikTok.
oh, on TikTok, I'm thinking, I'm like, bitch, professionally, I'm like, you're literally naked on Twitter with your dick out. Like, don't be.
But I have like a Cartier bracelet on when I'm doing. No, I don't. I wish. I pinky up. It's very classy. I was actually thinking of moving to LA for a bit, and my
Don't
friend,
do it.
she literally said to me, "Listen, hun, you're really hot in Jacksonville, but you're like a 6.5 LA, so maybe stay there." That's what she said to me. That was her response, and I was like, "I didn't say it was the reason I was going there was to look good. I just wanted to move."
Listen, this is what I will say about LA. LA is the garbage can in the United States. Like, this is why I will say this. This is why I have a plan for like a concept for a singer songwriter show. But it's like, let's be clear. I would go into these meetings. I'd be like, if we're filming in Detroit or we're filming in New York City. I'm not. Oh, gross.
It's like the recycling bin because it has plastic, and then Florida is the dumpster. I feel like Jacksonville is Florida's dumpster as well. So I live like in two dumpsters.
Well, actually, this is the thing I have to ask. I've never been to Jacksonville. I've driven past it when I've been driving to Atlanta. What the fuck is there to do in Jacksonville? Nothing, right?
Nothing. There's like three little gay clubs. When I moved here, I was a shot boy at one of them. And like there wasn't much, like there was drag though. That's what I liked. But then it was
Yeah.
always like 2 hours late and I'm elderly. I can't if I'm doing something at 9, I can't wait till 11. I'm asleep.
The, fucking A. Like, I literally, what was it? Um, so like I get up, unfortunately, because of living at home and it's like having to commute to work and all that. I get up like every day during the week between like 3:30 and 4 in the morning. So it's like when and I ended up missing work Friday, so I had to go in yesterday. So it was like when I was like texting my man, he wanted me to come over and he lives like 40 minutes away from me. And like I was doing an interview and I got done at 11:30 and I'm like, baby, I'm tired. Like I fell asleep like not long after that. I'm like, and he got mad. I'm thinking, I'm like, listen, this is because you wake up between 10 and noon. Like,
I'm an early
like
riser
it,
too. I get up at like 5:50 between like 6:10 that time just cuz I like the roommates asleep. No one could bother me. I could sit in the living room, listen to a podcast and just write comedy without like anyone just distracting me.
I I would like to be a little later. Like my ideal time to wake up would be 7 a.m. Like 3:30 is a little too early for me, but it's like if I'm this is my thing. It's like if I'm awake, it's like let me go out and like exercise and like come home and like just lie down and not get up for half an hour. Like so I have to like actually get ready.
I usually take my dogs out at like 6 too because I go to sleep early-ish. I feel like they have too little of or too long of a time between their like last pee. So I'm like racing them outside at like 6 a.m. to make sure they're
Yeah,
comfortable.
and that's why I would never have pets. Like I just like my thing is like my dad has a dog. I fucking hate the thing. Like and like I remember I came home like when she like first like got in the house and like I looked and like one of my pairs of like heels was like torn up and she was like running away from me. I'm like, "Where are you, you fucking bitch?" Like I'm thinking I'm like I'm like, "Yo," told me that I'm like, "You're lucky your dog's alive because I would have literally almost killed her and like put her in a stew for you." Like,
I have two pit bulls.
yeah.
Um, my roommate had a rat, and it was in a cage, and I was like, I'm a vegan. I'm one of those crazy people. I won't push it on anyone else. But I was like, it deserves the whole house. It got to a point I could leave the balcony door open. It didn't leave. It would play with the dogs. There was no cage. The rat would just run around doing its own thing, not do anything bad. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
See, hmm, this is my thing. Like, I've never thought about being vegan. I have thought about being like pescatarian because it's like for me, it's like I could survive on just fish, like and like vegetables and all that. That to me seems fine. Like going full vegan. I mean, I get it. Like I see the pros and cons of both. Like,
I don't judge, by the way, at
yeah,
all.
yeah. Well, I
I
mean,
I've experienced so much death like in my life that
yeah.
after it I was just like I have like a phobia of death and I'm like I can't give it to anything. If I saw a black widow spider in my house, I'd be trying to save it. I'm crazy.
Of course, you can't judge people and you can't judge people. You live in Jacksonville. People there eat raccoons. Like, no offense to people from Jacksonville.
I always make fun of Jacksonville. I forget my bosses are sometimes in Jacksonville. We'll be on a meeting. Where are you from? I'm like, sadly, Jacksonville. And they're like, why sadly? Like, you guys know. Don't pretend you don't know.
Like, see, this is what I say. It's like once you get past Orlando, like in Florida, it's like the rest of Florida, so white trash. Oh,
It's where we throw all the trash in our dumpster is
yeah.
north part of it.
What was it? I remember the first time I drove to Atlanta and like I was driving through like the northern part of Florida and like everybody started talking with southern accents. I'm like, I'm like, I'm still in Florida. Why the fuck is everyone talking like this? Like,
It confused me at first too, a lot. I thought everything was like Boca. I remember when I lived in Boca, my dad was like, the
yeah,
one thing I could tell you is the world is not like Boca.
no. Well, see, I will say this. Now you saying moving from Jacksonville to Melbourne, that makes sense. If you had moved from like Melbourne to Boca, I would have been like, are you a dumbass? Like, literally, you're right near Fort Lauderdale when you're in Boca. Like,
Yeah. I lived in Fort Lauderdale too, as a little kid,
see, Fort Lauderdale is, well, actually, I should say this. Wilton is where I go when I want to go out because, like,
obviously.
well, this is my thing. When people talk about like Miami to me is just like Miami's too ritzy for me. Like, everything's so expensive. Like, I need something with like a little bit of like trash and like, um, what was it? I remember when I was down in Fort Lauderdale this weekend, I was like, I had a dancer who like wanted me to go into a back room with him, and like that was one of those things. I was very like innocent, like Pollyanna, like da da da, and then like all of a sudden I'm like, let me just follow this dancer, and then like when he had like the guards say, "Oh, it's gonna cost you this much to go in there," I'm like, I'm good, baby. Like, bye.
I'm so not like when people want to go to one of those restaurants where it costs $30 per meal. I'm like, can we go to
Yeah.
Panera? I've had dates ask me like, "Where? Let me take you to this fancy restaurant." I'm like, "Yeah, it's called Panera. Let's go."
See, what was it? I remember interviewing somebody from LA, and they're like, they told somebody they wanted to go out for sushi on a first date. I'm thinking, bitch. I'm like, you lucky I'm not there, because like if I had been the person to take you on their first date, I would have been like, here's your Greyhound ticket to Detroit, where I can actually afford to take you out for sushi, you fucking asshole. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
no. It's like, you want to go out for sushi in LA? It's like lower your standards, like In and Out. That's where I would take you on a first date. That's where I can afford to take you out on a first date.
Also, I feel like the best first dates are like no money involved. Like, you know, or I always pay for myself at least. Like, I went out with this guy who was kind of rich, and it was like a $5 meal each, and I was like, I pay for myself. I was like, it's sweet, but I was like, I don't let anyone else pay, kind of thing.
Well, that's because um well, why? Wait, did you pay for yourself because you just wanted to be like independent, or is it just
Well, like,
you didn't want to have to suck his dick after the meal because he
well,
paid
no, I
for
wanted to, of course, and I did. It was the dessert, the best part. But I don't know what it is. Like I said, I grew up rich. I am no longer rich. My family went bankrupt right before I started like college. So I'm the opposite now. But like, I don't know, just something about taking money from others. Like, I want to be the giver. I don't, that sounded weird, not like the top, but like in that situation, like, I want to be the one to pay or don't pay for me. I feel uncomfortable. I don't know.
Well, I mean, okay. First of all, he says he says he's a verse top. It's like, just because he's a twonk doesn't mean that like he's automatically a bottom. Like, that's so like, I love when guys say that. It's like, what was that? I had somebody on here because it's like, I've bottomed a lot too. I'm like, and they were shocked when I said this. I'm like, listen, I've been topped by somebody who's like 6'8", but I've also been topped by somebody as short as 5'5". So I mean, like, for me, I've seen the gamut, and it's like, they're like, really? I'm like, do you not understand how like the world works, and like how like being, so I'm 6'3", and it's like, being 6'3", that's above, like, way above average. So it's like, you got to get used to. And it's like, I don't mind if somebody's short. It's like, listen, my thing is like, I'm also not like really everyone who's like, all you ever do is sleep with black guys. I'm like, that's not true. I'm like, I sleep with white guys once, twice a year. I call it community service. But like,
Sorry. I have such a weird laugh, so I'm trying to hold it back. People say I have a spray can laugh because it's like,
but it's like, in truth, it's like, being gay, I'm like, thick or a bitch. It's just I've gotten used to being with black and Latino guys. But it's not like, if somebody's like white hits me up, I'm not like, ew, you're white. Like, I'm not like self-hating. Although I will say this in truth, I would absolutely let this bitch top me. Yeah.
I I prefer to top. I get like
Yes.
more self-conscious, like, because I'm like, did I clean out enough? Like, I don't want to sit there being like, did I do my job good? I want to enjoy the ride, you know? Like, I'm not looking to be like, did I prepare this ride well for him? So I'm gonna
See,
overthink that.
my thing is I'm very versed now. Like for the longest time it was just like bottom, 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 because it's like again, thick bitch, fat ass. Most people just expected me to bottom. And it's like it was like and my thing was, well, okay, this is how I explain it. It's like after I had gotten raped, I didn't bottom for the longest time because it's like of that like whole trauma thing. You don't want to because like let's be clear, as I say, the people who are like, oh, I was like drugged when I was raped. I'm thinking, I'm like, it's like, yes, it was bad that you were drugged. I would absolutely trade shoes with you because it's like there's nothing like having to be fully awake, which is what I had to do. I was fully awake for this guy, and it's like he went in like no lube, no spit, nothing. He just went in, and
That's
I'm
so.
like, yeah, it's disrespectful. It's like, and this is my thing now, and this is my PSA to all the tops out there. It's like, if you don't eat your bottom's ass before you're fucking them, you're disrespectful as fuck. Like, point blank, period.
It loosens up and it feels good for them. Like, why not? And
Yeah.
I enjoy it too. So
Yeah. It's like, with that for me, it's like, I'm thinking when guys are like, especially guys with bigger dicks, I'm like, so let me get this straight. You want to just like lube up and stick your Godzilla dick in me and like, I'm supposed to just fucking be okay with it? It's like, I'm like, no, thank you, next, bye.
I don't like hemorrhoids. No, thank you. It's not my thing.
It's
No
also
kink
it's like,
shaming.
yeah, there's some kinky motherfuckers out there. What is
Yeah.
my next question? What is my next question? I'm like the least professional host out there. Anyway, so the okay, so what made you want to start doing OnlyFans?
I was bored. No, I wanted extra money. I wanted to make grandma proud, and I was like, and I need extra money.
You wanted to make grandma.
Right? I know she's looking up at me 6 feet below saying, good on him, Bubby, in her Yiddish accent. Oh, I'm going to tear up. I miss her.
Hold on. Yes. My thing is, would I do it? Like, I've thought about doing OnlyFans. My thing against it is like, I don't want to sit there and like being an artist. It's the thing. I don't want to have to sit there and be like, oh, this is me putting out this music. I want you to pay attention to this. But you did this on OnlyFans. But it's like, yes, but I'm a fucking artist. Like, I don't want to sit there and have to because let's be clear. I will say this. Most, should I say it? Should I say it? Should I say it? Actually, no, I'm not going to say most. I'm going to say a lot of non artist people are fucking morons. Like, clearly, I don't care about being canceled. But it's
I
like,
think most people are morons. There, I'm going to get canceled too.
but it's like, that is something that I'm doing for money. You're doing it for money. It's like when most people, I have very rarely, there's only one person I've seen on this, like, in doing all these interviews that is actually like done OnlyFans and like did porn because they basically quit the medical field to go do porn. And I'm like, for that, I'm like, first of all, work.
Yeah.
And it's like, but a lot of people, it's like, yeah, the shocker of, oh my God, this person was down and out on their money. I'm like, duh.
I needed the
It's like,
money. It saved me. You know what I mean? When I
yeah,
looked at my earnings, I was like, holy crap, I'd have been in debt.
yeah, because you have to think like, there's so many people who are like, first of all, I will say this: I'm the least judgmental person when it comes to sex work because it's like my thing is when people judge it, it's like let's get real. You want people to jack off to. You want people to entertain you at clubs. And essentially, some of you want to pay for sex. So it's like, in order for all of that to happen, people have to do these jobs.
Exactly.
People are like, the thing is, when people say, like, not my boyfriend, and it's like, first of all, Bevy, I've seen some of the bridge trodes you are fucking out there dating. It's like, nobody wants to see your man fuck anyway.
I love that. I know it has made some people quite rich, so good for them. I wish I had that level. People have written me who have a lot of followers being like, let's do a collab. But I
Yeah,
am so scared. Like, I could talk sexy on camera, do all of that. But when they're in person, I'm gonna be like, oh, my ass is too small. I can't be the bottom for this. Or, you know what I mean? Like, just, and I see them, no shade against them, because of the amount of people they have sex with and my over worrying and fear. I'd be worried that like I would get HPV, like even though I got the Gardasil shot, because I had a scare once and they cut a
yeah.
piece like off of me and they were like, oh, it was just a normal rash. And I'm like, oh, so you had to like do all of that to tell me it wasn't HPV, it was a rash.
But it's like, to that, it's like, granted, so, okay, like, what type of person would you be looking to work with? Like,
Like collab wise,
yeah.
I think like I'd want somebody else who's like who does comedy, which is not usually going to be a thing. Probably
What?
probably somebody who like all their videos I see them safing. I would collab with somebody if they only safe and I see all their stuff is safing. I'd be completely cool with that.
First of
Which I know
all,
is weird.
well, no, I'm thinking somebody who does comedy, that sounds like a terrible idea. Like,
You don't like to get fucked while laughing? It makes it tight for him when you're laughing. He loves it.
what?
That's what Uncle Jeffrey said at least. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Because when you say, like, somebody who does comedy, I just imagine you, like, being the bitch, like, talking into a penis, being like, is this thing on? Like that's, like, I'm like, to me, I'm like,
He just comes right away. Oh yeah, it is on. Just start dissing him with his penis as your fucking microphone. Comedy Central roast while you get
I would,
roasted.
I would say that if you actually did, like, comedy OnlyFans videos, I don't think anyone's done that, so that would actually make you an innovator.
I've done piano, like playing with my dick. I don't know if you've ever seen that. I played like Turkish March by Mozart with my dick. Part of it.
See, my thing is, like, first of all, granted, my thing is you should find somebody who you would, like, I feel like flip fucking would be like the best thing for you because it's like that way it's the best of both worlds and like most guys who have big dicks, I want to at least for me, I want to flip fuck with anyway. It's like
One of the last guys who I was talking to, it was too big for him. Like, I know I'm not massive. I ain't like some of these people out here with these like horse cocks, you know? But like, he was a small, really small twink, and he would never top. Like, he thinks buttholes are gross. Topping, no. But I'm like, there was no way. You could eat him out for a year, and there was no way it was gonna go in.
it's because you're talking to a twink. Like that's your fucking problem. It's like literally talk to me. It's like I looked at your dick and I'm like, yes, it's nice, but it's like I'm thinking, baby, I take it bigger than that. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like the things I see on Twitter, I'm like, how how do people live? You know, like, how do you survive this?
and my thing is like I am like legit super tight. Like even to this day, it's like when I have this discussion with my man, he's like, "You're not that tight." I'm thinking, "Yeah, you've been fucking me for 5 years. That's why I'm not that tight to you anymore." It's like you've already had me multiple times. Like that's why you know how to work it. It's like if I get some like dumbass
From
off
Sniffies?
the off sniffies, ew. See, this is the thing. I have never used sniffies, nor do I want to. It's like, well, okay. Have you used sniffies?
No, I have not.
Because my thing is, it's like, granted, Grinder's not that much better, but it's at least you feel like a little bit better. Because it's like, although there are stupid motherfuckers, like, I will say this: if you don't have a place to host and you're inviting someone to a park at 2 in the afternoon, you a dumbass. Like, I had guys do that. He's like, you want to meet me at this park? I'm like, talk to me at 9 p.m., motherfucker. Like,
I've had sex in a park, but it was like 12 a.m., 1 a.m.
oh
It
yeah,
was
so I'm like,
sex. It was like a blowy, you know, a quick,
oh
a little
please, I've
friendly.
done, okay. Let's see, put it this way: I am a reformed slut, but I've had sex in the park multiple times. Actually, the park like near me, I used to tell guys like when they're like, "Are you sure it's safe here?" I'm like, "I've done this multiple times. Like, shut up and just like start eating me out and then like stick it in me, motherfucker." Like, it's like I know what I'm doing.
If you don't want them to act like a good way, if you want to like cut somebody from coming to your place and saying you want to host, be like, this is my grandma's place. I swear to God, they will be like, never mind. And it makes it easier than ghosting, you know? This is my grandma's condo. She has bad hearing. She's in the other room. Hope you don't mind.
You have not. Well,
No, I'm
this
saying
is
like when you write people, like, you know,
yeah.
like, because it's hard for me. I don't ghost people. I'm like, I slowly, like, it goes from 3 words to 2 words to 1 word. I'm like, or I can make them ghost me.
See, I have never been like. Granted, my thing with like hookups now is I am so fucking busy. Like, as I pointed out to my man a few like when we were talking last like a week ago, and I'm like, he was like he wants to be in an open relationship, and I'm like, I'm fine with that, whatever. But I'm like, I barely have time to have sex with you. Like, let alone like,
You're just too tired
d-
when you're working this hard. Like,
yeah, Darrell, Tyrone, like,
I think I maybe only had one real hookup that was a one night stand with a guy.
What?
And yeah, I've only slept with like 20, maybe 23-ish people, and three of them were girls.
I love how you say that. Like, first of all, that is a small number, but my number's about the same. But that's because, like, a lot of it was. So when you came out, you were like, were you older or were you like,
I was 22. Is that like older, would you
oh,
say?
okay, yes? Because I would say, like, I didn't have sex for like, well, I would say this. The first time I consensually had sex was 23. So, like, from 23 to like 26, I had about 20 in there. Yeah, that's about right. But it's like, once I got to 27, I'm like, I'm just so over it. It's like all these guys wanting me and they just want to host and everybody wants to do drugs. And I'm like,
I didn't know what a
what?
capital T was for a while, and I'm like, oh, spill the tea. It was just like a capital T somebody wrote me. I'm like, I don't know what the T is, but spill it. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, oh, it's too expensive to spill. It's not that type of tea. Okay.
God. See, this is why. This is why you came out at 22. When you came out, you should have started watching Davey Wavy because it's like, in truth, that's where I learned so much stuff. I mean, like, that's why I had guys doing Tina in my apartment before. It's like, luckily I knew what it was, so I knew to say no. But it's like, probably the like most embarrassing. So I had sex with a crackhead before, but it's like, in my defense, I didn't know he was on crack, so we like almost got to my apartment, and then I'm like, well, I drove a half an hour to get you, so it's like obviously we're having sex. Like I'm not gonna leave you on the side of the road. And then like he was the first guy to eat me out, and then I was like, it felt weird at first, and I got that like that like ecstasy feeling, and I'm like, and at the time I was in an open relationship, and I told my man, I'm like, okay, you want to be the top, you're doing this from now on because I want this.
I didn't actually know about eating ass until my third relationship in gay world. Because this is what happened. So I told you I had that hookup, and it was just to see if I was gay or not, you know? And
Right.
then I bottomed, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I was like, this is the right thing. And then I started seeing this guy, and he like lifts up my legs to eat my ass. And I was like, what are you doing? I made him go into the bathroom, Listerine his mouth. I was like, I'm not kissing you. And then later on, because I was like, I didn't know anything about that. And later on, I was like, oh, this is normal. Literally made him Listerine his mouth on our date. He probably thought I was crazy.
Well, I mean, okay. Were you like not prepared down
Oh, I'm
there?
crazy. No shade to anyone else. I'm crazy about it. Smelling good, being completely clean. It's like you're entering a not Bed Bath and Beyond, Bath and Body Works. I
Yeah.
like those two confused every single time.
Well, okay. My thing with that is, and this is the thing, like, I don't know if you've ever had guys where it's like, do you eat ass? Like, that's one of the questions I ask. And then, like, they say, I will if it's clean. I'm like, I'm thinking, motherfucker, what do you think I'm doing? Like, you think this is my first fucking time? It's like, the only time I didn't was when I was specifically asked not to. And it's like, for that, but it's like, obviously, it's like, I'm gonna shower before we fuck. Like,
Oh, I'm crazy. I wait to the last second and then I go in the bathtub, hot water, running faucet right down my ass. I'm doing not only like body wash, I'm doing the
Yeah.
exfoliator, I'm doing conditioner. Even though there's no hair, I'm like, it's gonna smell like a lovely garden down there.
I've never done conditioner. I've done the body wash thing, and even when it's like, for me, it's like when the top's taking too long, and it's like you have stuff happen in between because they're just taking forever. It's like granted, it's like yeah, as long as you like shower that part out every time, it's like you're good. Because what was it? I saw an interview or I saw like a video where somebody says like it should take you 3 hours to prepare. I'm like, I'm thinking 3 hours? Like, who the fuck got that kind of time? It's like, especially with the way motherfuckers are flaky, it's like if I took 3 hours to get ready and like you didn't show up, it's like trust. If Grinder's tracker, it's like I will track where you live and I will murder you. Like,
He fell into my knife 8 times accidentally in Chicago.
yes, I love Chicago.
So good. Catherine Zeta Jones, everything.
What was it? Actually, I interviewed a drag queen on here, and she's like, "Are you a theater gay?" I'm like, "Kind of," and she's like, "That means no." And she's like, then she starts talking about Chicago. I'm like, "I've seen the movie. Like, just because I don't go to." Well, first of all, it's like, let's get real. It's like if you're not seeing something on Broadway, is there really any reason for you to see it?
I saw Hairspray on Broadway.
I saw Phantom of the Opera and Mamma Mia on Broadway.
Oh, I'm jealous. Phantom of the Opera sounds amazing to see.
I didn't like it.
Really?
No, I loved Mamma Mia. It's like for me, Phantom of the Opera. It's like, well, I don't know. This goes back to my roots as a singer. It's like I hate that like classical, like operatic, like choir style because that's what I was taught with as a kid and like through high school. It's like that's why everything that I do as a performer now is like just a rebellion of everything that I was ever taught. It's like I do vowels the way I want to. It's like some of them might sound, as I say, one of my like vocal inspirations is Christina Aguilera. So like
Everything.
I yes, I have that way of like doing that like singing the way and like how she pushes her vocals is when people are like your voice is too pushy. It's like I know when to push and I know when to back off. It's like as a singer, you teach yourself how to do
Her
everything and
Hurt is like such like a ballad. Her voice is crazy and Hurt. Like
yeah,
insane.
her voice is and like especially like I've seen like clips from her Vegas show and everyone's like with that they're like her voice is so good again. I'm
Again.
like first of all it's like listen, it's like everyone has that like bad period. Like let's get real. Love Mariah. There were a few years Mariah Carey could not sing and it wasn't her fault. Like I don't think people understand like when you're an actual performer, that's why like as a drag queen, this is why in some ways I always feel like in some ways I'm better than other drag queens because it's like they're like, "Oh, I've done my two numbers and I'm done." And I'm like, "Two numbers? Like I'm just warmed up, baby. Let's do an hour. Like let's do an hour and a half. Like let's do 45 minutes. Like I can get out there and just like go."
Who do you think is the best vocalist? And I don't mean artist, like just specifically like vocalist of our time.
Ooh.
Or maybe top three. I don't mean to change the subject. I'm just
No,
interested.
top three. I would say I'm gonna give it to like obviously Christina. I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it to this one, and a lot of people forget about her. But to me, as a vocalist, she will never be beaten ever, and that's Anastasia. Like
I don't know her. Am I about to be
this.
hit?
Well, no. It's not your fault. So what happens is Anastasia is someone she came out during the whole like Britney Christina thing, but or Britney Christina era, but she was older than them. She was 23 at the time. She was lying about her age. She was actually like in her 30s, but she looked young enough to pass for 23, so they let her. And like she never really made it in America. Like she had a few songs that were big here, but she made it huge over in Europe. But like her voice, like I will say, even her like bad vocals, at least in my view, aren't bad. Like, and then who would I put third? I'm gonna actually do a tie for third.
Yeah.
I would say, and they're two completely different styles. I would say like Mariah Carey and Lady Gaga would be like there because it's like first of all with it when you if you were to say like just as an artist in general, Gaga's my top. Like
Yeah.
there's
How could you beat her? Like, she's everything.
and it's like
Then she of art.
yeah, and she did all the stuff. My thing is like where I gained the most respect for her was granted I was already a fan of her at this point, but when she did art pop and like everyone was like, "Oh my god, art pop flopped all this. She's a failure now, whatever, blah blah blah." And I'm like, but she had the balls to do what none of you were gonna do. Like, what, fucking Katy Perry, who had like Dark Horse with like a trap beat in the background and like did the crescendo shit. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that song, but it's like, seriously, it's like, compared to revolutionizing music,
Joanne is actually my favorite album, and I think it's very underrated.
uh, I have a love hate relationship with Joanne. Like, I would say Dancing in Circles and like, Ayo and John Wayne are probably like three of the best songs on that album. But it's like, first of all, this goes to when people say like, "Oh, Beyonce's revolutionary because like she's doing country music now." I'm like, hello, Gaga did it what, like
A while
8
ago.
years ago? Like that's the thing. I'll say this, like, no hate to Beyonce. I haven't listened to the new album. It's like all the gays, I will say this, I feel like the gays are like obsessed with certain songs at certain points. Like they were obsessed with Yes and with Ariana Grande. It's like I like that song, but it's like for me, there's no depth. Like to Gaga, like Joanne had depth, Art Pop had depth, Chromatica had depth. Like these are just really like Chromatica, I would say, kind of falls along the lines of my album, not like sound wise, but like thematically, that thing of you're dancing to my pain. That's kind of how. I wrote this album, and it's like that thing of, and I will say this for artists. I hate when people ask artists where it's like, "What's your style of music?" That question irks me to my core. It's like for that, it's like listen to the fucking album. Like, don't ask somebody to describe their sound. Like, their sound is their sound. It's like that's why I say
Y-
it's like it's electronic music, but it's like listen to the album. Like I had like on the album I'm talking about, I'm calling it Confessions of a Transvestite. Like on that album, I have industrial sounds, disco sounds, EDM sounds, like trap. It's like it all just depends on what I was feeling when I sat down and wrote the song. So it's like I don't know.
Let me ask,
Yeah.
is the disco inspired by Donna Summers at all?
For me, it was I love Donna Summer, yes. But
So
it's like,
much.
yeah. With that song, I will say this because this is what I love about this album. I wrote some of the songs as early as 2015, and I wrote some of the songs as late as November of last year. So it's like really is like a cohesive piece of album. And the song I'm talking about with like a disco inspired sound is a song called Are There Any Good Guys? And it was written when I was exploring the like gay world, and I was like I allowed myself to ask the questions of are there any good guys or are they all basically dead? Because that's what I felt at 23 years old when I was exploring shit. Like 22, 23 years old. And it's like, granted, I think it still resonates. Like, that's the thing. It's like, there's sometimes people write songs and they sound immature. Like, I don't think any of my songs sound immature. They just are all cohesive. Where the fuck am I? Okay. I know. I'm paying attention, I promise. So, okay.
No, you're good. I was just checking my battery because it made
Yeah.
a weird. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're good. So, okay. Well, I guess some of these I can eliminate because, like, actually, no, I'll ask you this way. Okay. So, if you were to do a collab, what's the freakiest thing you'd be willing to do?
I'm so not kinky at all. Like, choke me. I'm such a bad boy. Choke me.
Choke me.
I don't know. Like, people have been like, can you try pee play? And I was like, I tried pissing on myself in the shower and I almost vomited. Like, no shade to anyone. I'm just like, maybe it's because my mom was so OCD with everything being pristine. So I'm like that.
See, like, I would say for me, the like kinkiest thing somebody asked me to do, they're like, can I fist you? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm like, for me, I don't know. Like, it's like I get some things like eating somebody out, fingering somebody. That stuff I get. You're preparing the bottom for taking a dick. What is shoving your fist in my ass literally gonna do? Like, I just
I've seen like stuff and then I see like a little juice on their arm and it's like it's normal and I'm like it may be normal but I don't want that. Like I'm not a puppet. Like I'm good right now.
that's why what was it? The craziest thing I saw somebody take one time, and it's like I didn't this thing. It's like sometimes you see stuff when you're like on porn sites and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And it was somebody who took a traffic cone. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, what the fuck can a man do for you if like that's what you're getting pleasure from?
I will say I like twins. I know that's not like what I would do, but I'm really into twins doing stuff. I don't know if that's a kink, but I would love to two identical
See,
twins.
I will say this: it's like I wouldn't say I'm like into it. Like for me, there's some people who like this. I have actually gotten off to a video one time where it's like the dad, and like the two sons were like playing with the dad and like eating him out. I'm like, because to me, it's like it's not like I'm into like dad play. It's like for me, it's like three hot guys working together. It's like
Yeah. There's something, I don't know if you've heard of them. I think their name is the Bronco Twins and then the Czech Twins on Twitter. And like the Bronco Twins, like their pictures look like they're actually, and I'm like, there's something about this. It's probably because I'm from the South. I'm like, is this why I like this?
what was it? I think it was like okay, so there's this twin couple. Like I think one of them's name is like Fly Soldier, and it's like this guy who's like all tatted up, and I'm like, but my thing with that is it's like when you see all this stuff, I'm like, for me, I just had this conversation with somebody. I cannot fucking stand straight guys working in any sort of field for gay people. It's like for me, it's like fuck all the way off. Like you are not special because you get to go home and dance and take all these like faggots' money, and like all of a sudden you get to go home to your fucking wife and kids. That doesn't make you special. That makes you an asshole.
What do you think about queer baiting on OnlyFans? I just learned about this. I didn't even know it was actually a thing, except for
That's
one
my thing.
person.
Bam, bam, bam. Yes. Fuck you. Because it's
I'm oblivious.
gross.
I didn't know that a lot of people do that.
Of course they do. And it's like the minute I find out somebody's straight, that's when I unfollow them. I'm like, gross. You have a wife?
You have kids? Ugh. I never want kids.
I don't either. Because it's like, my thing is, it's there's two things, especially it's like, yes, as I said, I dress half naked. I don't want to sit there and have to like have the conversation when I'm like in my 40s with like some 16-year-old kid being like, but dad, why do you get to walk out of the house in fishnets long? And I'm like, because I'm a fucking artist, bitch.
I'm just not like
Yeah.
mentally stable enough for a kid. And I'm like selfish. I'm gonna be like, get the fuck away from me. I'm writing.
Get the fuck away from me. I'm writing.
You're two. Go to the bathroom on your own. Give it some NyQuil or something. Oh, that's really messed up. One of my friends who's a parent, their little brother thought it'd be funny to go on their Facebook and post, I gave my baby NyQuil. It really worked. Hasn't spoken in 24 hours.
That's funny. See, my thing with parenting is it's like I'm like see, I feel like when you're an older parent, you can like want older drugs. I'd be like, I could probably do parenting if I was on like Quaaludes the whole time.
My mom used to do, you can't cancel her now because she's dead. She used to do Quaaludes all the time, she told me.
Like see, that would be like that's like the ultimate joke when like if you were to go up as like a parent and like you could do this because your mom's dead, and it's like if you get offended by any of my mom's like dead mom jokes, I don't care. I'm not gonna go out and buy a Ouija board anyway, so she can't text me her feelings. Like,
I say that and people get so offended with the Ouija board. Why do people get offended by that? I'm like, it's my fucking mom. I'm not contacting yours.
that's exactly my thing. I talk about being raised by gypsies all the time. I don't give a fuck. My mom's dead.
Dead mom jokes are the funniest, and they were such good friends to make fun of my dead mom. And I know that sounds weird, but they were so on board with making fun of her passing. And it made me so happy. Like we were in a Michael's and there was like a fake arm, and he puts it on and he's on me and he's like, "It's so cold, like your mother's touch, right? Does it bring back memories?"
The joke I always say is like, it's like, of course I'm a whore. I learned from my mom. Like, and it's like,
I I had a TikTok video and it was like one I took it down though because I was scared that like I was gonna get reported because I kept getting reported back then. And I was like going on a rant how I was taking dick and like how I was nervous. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm becoming my mom. I'm such a nervous person in bed. People were like, what the fuck? And I'm like, she'd be cool with it. Doesn't even matter if she is.
that's exactly the thing. I'm like, so by the way, this is just like an example. Like, my mom taught me, okay, so there was this movie in the 70s that came out, and it was called like, Harold and Maude, and it was about this like super old woman who like, and like this like super like 16-year-old guy who ended up like falling in love. This is the 70s. This movie would never be made now. And like, the old lady used to go like with the 16-year-old kid to like funerals all the time, and like she used to just sit there and like she stole stuff, and she used to like run through tolls like not anything. And like when I think about that stuff and like that how dark it was, I'm like, my mom introduced me to this dark shit when I was like 16 years old. She'd have no problem with me saying half the shit I say now anyway.
As long as they didn't bring him to Jeps. Is it Epstein? Is it Epstein's Island? Is that what it's
Yes.
called?
Yes.
I heard Matt Rife. I know we shouldn't talk about him, but
Yes.
it was in his good days. There was a little kid in front of his audience, and they were like, "Why'd you bring a kid? Have you heard of Epstein's Island?" And I was like,
See, like this is the thing, like, and see, like sometimes you have like fucked up thoughts, like, and I had this, and my best friend like cracked up when I said this. I actually had like during one of my like lunch breaks at work, I thought, I'm like, what if I became a terrorist? Like, the thought of it, it's like, he's like, I'm like, first of all, this is what I will say. I love when suicide bombers literally like run through like fields of stuff. It's like, you're gonna fucking die. Why would you stand in one place and just blow up that? Like, why the fuck are you running with a bomb? Like,
"Actually, why? You could just get stopped."
exactly. It's like you're gonna be dead anyway. That's I would be the laziest terrorist. I'd be like, fuck it, I'm standing right here. This is where
Can someone press this for me? I'm too lazy. Can one of you explode it for me?
see, that's my thing. Like when talking to LA, when I heard people say like when you go up to people, they're like, what do you do? Like in that voice, I would be like, I'm a fucking terrorist. Because at that point, they're not gonna ask you any more questions. Like,
I'm in this new terrorist organization. You haven't heard about it though.
it's like I'm in Al Qaeda.
We have a gay version, a gay division in LA.
Yeah,
You
okay.
should come.
Yes. I'm here. I just thought of one. I'm like, I'm here to create a specific atomic bomb, and it sets off when any bottom douches.
I could just see you as being like from like Austin Powers, and it's like you're the gay villain. Every time you do, a city explodes.
uh, what was it? I had a British person on here. They're like, at one point, they're like, I'm afraid of getting canceled. I'm like, listen, if you get canceled, I'm gonna go down in this boat with you. Like, because at the end of the day, it's like fuck it, we're making jokes. Like,
I'm lucky
it's
that's my field too, so like I get a little bit of a pass.
it's like, sorry, I can't do basic ass jokes about like. I'm sorry, I can't do Republican jokes where it's like, my pronouns are get lost and get a job, like stupid shit like that. It's like,
That's
who
so
was it?
funny though.
That's so stupid though. It's like,
So stupid.
who is it that I saw do that? Oh, Roseanne Barr. Like,
I used to love her.
that's, let me tell you, that was the one thing. It's like, when you used to tell people like you're a fan of Roseanne, I'm like, no, you're thinking of Roseanne now. I'm talking about Roseanne in the 90s. Like,
The show, I watched
yeah.
Darlene, but everyone, they were my family like growing up.
You were like the gay Jewish white trash version of like Roseanne.
Me and my mom basically had our first masturbation talk when from Roseanne, because the little kid was in the bathroom and they were like, I wonder why he's in the bathroom longer now as he suddenly turned 13. Why is the door locked for half an hour? And then I'm sitting there awkwardly with my mom and she like looks at me like to see if I understood. And I'm like, So Roseanne helped me get through the masturbation talk. Thank you, Roseanne, is what I'm trying to say.
See, in some ways, like, I never really had these conversations. Like, what was it? My dad had the sex talk would be like super late. Like, and again, he's talking about like, don't get a girl pregnant. And then like 2 years later, I'm like, that's not a problem. I want to take in the ass anyway. Like,
I'm getting pregnant.
it's like, listen. Okay, I will say this for the young kids out there. You should always use condoms. Okay, now I'm gonna speak really. Um let's get real. I will say this as somebody who sleeps with primarily black men. If a black man wants to pull out a condom, chances are he's got a wife or like a bit or like a girlfriend. It's like black men aren't pulling out condoms unless they like that, and it's like, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. I've been in this situation once where it's like I had some guy like text me and like granted all I'd sent him was pictures of my ass. Like I hadn't done anything with him. And then like as he's like, oh, this is, I think his name was like Daryl. It's like, oh, this is Daryl's girlfriend. I'm like, block. And I'm like, you want me to continue having a conversation? You just admitted you were the like girl. I'm thinking, baby, if your man wants my ass, there's something that you can't give him.
I always feel
Newsflash.
bad. So if I hadn't like come out, there was this girl I was dating. Shout out Catlin, what's up? She's cool with everything. And she took my virginity. And then one night, I was so offended. So fuck you for this if she watches this. But she kept saying like, "So are you gay?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she asked me like 100 times. She goes, "Listen, my uncle married some woman and he ended up gay, and I don't want to just be your beard." And she asked me throughout the whole entire night, but I didn't know. So imagine now. I'd be the DL trade, like hitting you up on Grinder, being like,
See, I never had sex with a woman. The first time I had sex was with a man, and I'm like grateful for it. It's like, because to me, it's like with that, I'm like, for me, it's better. It's like, granted, this is my view, and this is a fucked up way of like thinking about things. It's like, what's the worst thing that's gonna happen to me? AIDS? I thought I was gonna be dead now anyway. Like shit.
Is it weird? I love eating pussy. I love it. I'm such like a.
To this day,
I like jerk off to the thought of eating pussy. I don't like boobs. Boobs just turn me off so much. I don't know what it is. Like something about like I like boobs on a guy, but not like on a girl. I don't know how to say it. And that's like if it kept this part only, completely date women.
so your fantasy man is Buck Angel. Like,
Who's that? I'm not trying
oh
to be
my god.
shady. I actually don't know who that is.
Okay, so I will say this: like, Buck Angel is a post-op trans man with a that still has a pussy. So it's like everything else is like there except for like the vagina. But from what I've heard, I've never seen it because like I only okay. So I heard about this person on the Howard Stern show. Like, and this is back in like the early 2000s. They had like this thing called the Sibian, which is essentially like it's a like masturbator for the pussy that was like motorized.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they had Buck Angel be like the one trans man who wrote it. And like again, this is in the early 2000s, so like there were so many things where it's like if you said that now, it'd be like that's transphobic, that's transphobic, that's transphobic, but it's
For
and
me,
like
like when I say like they could be identifying as a woman, and like I would date them completely. Be like, you know what I mean? Like if they had really small boobs, like really really small. There was this woman the other day, and I don't know what it was, but like the 0.001% bi-ness came out on me, and I was just like bleach blonde. I was like no boobs and a big butt. I'm like, and I'm kind of like a malish face. Yes.
see, so I feel like your like dream woman would have been like Whitney Cummings like pre-op.
Whitney Cummings. Did she come
You
out?
no or no. Okay, when I say pre-op, like she had like a boob job to make her boobs like bigger, but
Gotcha.
she used to have like A cups and like
I thought you were saying Whitney Cummings was like
no
what
no
is
no
it?
no 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 no. I should have clarified that. No, Whitney Cummings. Well, okay, you're into comedy. You know who Whitney Cummings is,
Of
right?
course, she's one of my favorite comedians. She's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
I got so
But see,
confused for a sec.
no. I should have clarified that. I was not saying, but like she had a boob job, so like now her tits are bigger. But like I remember like in like 2006, she had like the flat chest, like the look you kind of would have liked. Like
Yeah, she's like gorgeous and
yeah,
like I don't know how to explain it. And almost like a I'm Jewish. I'm allowed to say this in more of a Jewish sense, and they have like more masculine features, maybe some sharpness to them, where it's like I don't know. And the small boobs, I would have. And she's a comedian.
see, I first of all, I don't think there's anything wrong with being Jewish. Like even the like small part Jewish I am, I'm like not even like 1% Jewish. I'm like 0.5%, but it's like if I make a joke, I'm like fuck you. I'm 0.5% Jewish. I'm allowed to make that joke. Like
I came. I'm Jewish by ethnicity now. I'm not Jewish by religion anymore. But I grew up in like an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, and some of the jokes that all of us 100% Jewish people would make, would get people who are 100% Jewish canceled.
See, like, first of all, what Jewish people actually practice? Like, honestly, you look at it this way, like, being Jewish is like, except for the Orthodox Jews, it's like overall, like, most Jewish people don't even practice. Like,
Reform.
yeah,
Reform. Yeah.
yeah, it's like,
We used to go to
it's like,
temple twice a year.
that's the thing where it's like, that's why when people say, like, I'm theoretically Catholic, but it's like, let's get real. I'm fucking agnostic. Like, I was raised Catholic. That doesn't mean I am Catholic. Like, so all of it is like, first of all, this is the point that I always make when like Catholics are like, "Oh, I'm so proud to be Catholic." I'm like, "Fucking cannibals." You sit there and you say that you eat bodies and drink blood. Like, fuck you. That's cannibalism, motherfuckers. Like, and my dad
That's
hates
safe.
a my dad hates that point, and he's like, "It's symbolic." I'm like, "Look, you're the ones who are saying it, not me. Like, I'm just pointing out the facts." Like,
When other Orthodox Jewish people ask me my thoughts, I'm like, I don't like sexism, so maybe we shouldn't talk about that. No shade to everyone. I grew up in an area where I think it's called Shomer Shabbos. Let's say that I'm with you and I'm a man, you're a woman. If I touch your skin, it's like, oh my God, I'm Shomer Shabbos. Men aren't allowed to touch me. And I'm like, okay, this is a cult.
so wait, so that means like I'm thinking of Reformed Jews. That means Orthodox Jews are against gay people, right?
I don't actually, I didn't know about me being gay then or anything like that. And honestly, I used to skip out on all the Judaics, all of everything. I'm the least knowledgeable Jewish person you will ever meet. But like women wearing wigs, like to cover up their real hair. And I'm like, why? Why are you covering up yourself, boo boo? Like, stop. You shouldn't have to do this. Women sitting behind the men at certain congregations. I'm like, and then I've heard a lot of Jewish people tell me like, oh, it's an honor. We do this for like the women as an honor, and I'm like, they're behind you. I'm like, okay, let them peg you if they're behind you. What do you mean a fucking honor?
It's that's literally an honor. Like,
Could you imagine somebody comes over and sucks your dick, and you're like, this is an honor. Get your head back down there.
that's the thing where it's like, I love when people say like, first of all, this is the point that I always like to point out to Catholics. We're like, oh my god, gays are so wrong. I'm like that motherfucker up on the altar's in a fucking dress. Like, let's let's get real. It's like the Pope is a fucking drag queen. He drives around in like a fucking mobile with like a fucking glass top that everybody. That is some drag queen fucking bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
and that's why they're like, the thing I always heard was hate the sinner, not the sin. And I'm like, first of all, it's like as I was getting more and more, it's like hate the sinner, not the sin. This sounds kind of hot. Like, like this sounds naughty.
Right. Do you want to hate on this ass daddy? I mean, father. Sorry, father.
Because what was it? And it's like, first of all, it's like, second of all, drag queens just make fun of it. I remember this like Andrew Christian ad where like they had like the nun like sniffing glue, and then like they had all the boys like just in underwear because that's definitely acceptable to be in a school, like wearing a jock strap with your fucking ass out. Like, I'm like, this is so like way to like capitalize on people, and it's like when you see like, first of all, I will say this: some porn is fucking stupid. Like the one with the two like the two step brothers like having sex, like that's like okay. It's like everyone's like, it's so naughty. I'm like, they're not fucking related. Like, technically, I will say this, like, as a gay person, we have such different standards. Like, you talk about like women who's like, there's this like 45-year-old guy who's like dating this like 18-year-old girl, and it's like, ew, that's disgusting. But in the gay world, it's like, well, yeah,
Yeah.
obviously he wants his money. Like, and it's like, that's just so acceptable. And it's like,
Sorry, I'm just checking something because I got a low battery thing. Okay,
I know, okay, I swear I'm gonna knock these out.
you're good.
I told this is the thing I should have told you before. As I told you, I can't like focus, and it's like we're clearly getting along very well, so like it's making it even harder to focus.
Oh, I get that.
But yeah,
I was just
okay,
checking if I need to get a charger because I feel bad if it just died in the middle.
yeah, I get you. So okay, so what made you want to start doing goofy vids on TikTok and Instagram?
I listened to a RuPaul podcast and they were like, "What are you good at?" And I hated what I was doing. I think I was working at some environmental consulting firm as an economist and they were just so abusive. And I was like, "What am I good at? They don't think I'm good at anything." I was like, "Oh, I usually make people laugh. Let's try." And I started making some memes that were so cringe. And then I kept doing it. And after getting a following through memes, I was like, somebody said, "Why don't you do TikTok?" So I made a video and the first one just blew up and I was like, okay, why not?
See, I am not like a meme person, but I'm like I can write a joke. Like that's why what is it? There's some but there are also sometimes like I will write stuff in the moment. Like even like my best friend will like sit there and like finish a thought and then like I'll have a thought in my head and like I'll start laughing. And he's like here to share with the rest of the class and I'm like hold on. And then I spit out the joke because it's like I don't know if you like think like that, but there's some times where it's like especially me, like in normal life, I'm very quiet because it's like I'm so afraid I'm gonna say the wrong thing.
I don't shut up.
It's like that's why, especially around like when I'm around like a family and like I have to be near kids, I don't say anything because it's like what am I gonna tell like at Thanksgiving dinner the story about the time that I had sex in a park? Like
I'm just awkward and we'll start asking them questions about them and engaging them. People love hearing them talk about themselves.
what?
Oh, I'm saying like
Oh,
at Thanksgiving or one of those things, like I just ask them questions. People love hearing themselves talk.
see, my thing was this year. So like this was the year that I did this, and like right around Thanksgiving is when I decided I was gonna move to Detroit, and like I basically like this is how fucked up I am. I literally told a bunch of so I was with like I was like family friends like at their house for Thanksgiving. So like I told a bunch of other people that I wanted to move to Detroit before I told my dad. So like my dad's like, "Who wants to move to Detroit?" I'm like, "I did." And I
Funny.
just said, and he's like Detroit. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I looked because I'm like, let's get real. Like, who knows what the fuck? Like, not to get too political, who knows what the fuck's gonna happen with the presidency? And it's like, either way, I feel like the economy is gonna go to shit. Like, it's like, why not be in a city that like I can actually afford to live in versus this thing of like, I know you said you do roommates. I don't do roommates because like my thing is I don't want somebody getting in the way of my sex life. So it's like if we're living together, we're fucking. Like
I mean, we had sex, so He's the last person I've had sex with.
Well, then, hello. If you want to start collabing with people, that's who you collab with on OnlyFans. It's like, if he doesn't want to be seen, it's like, you have nothing to do. Sit there and, like, black out his eyes with the thing and,
He
like,
won't even be seen on TikTok. He doesn't like social media. He likes consuming it. Like, if I hit 1 million followers on here, I'd be like, yo, I just hit 1 million followers. He'd be like, oh, that's cool. Do you want to go watch Frieren? I really like that anime. That would be his response. He wouldn't be like, he wouldn't even think of it as anything. That's how, like,
only. First of all, I love how you're classifying OnlyFans as social media. OnlyFans is not social media. It's a
no, I was
fucking
talking about
porn site.
TikTok. Like, if actually, I think he'd be cool with an OnlyFans thing because he'd be like, oh, that's money. But it's like with TikTok, I could be the most followed person on TikTok. He'd be like, okay, I don't want to be seen. And I'm like, try to get clout. I'm like, you could make a career for yourself.
See, my thing is, I don't, like, want to start conflicts, but I feel like that would be, like, the way to go viral. If I just, like, started a fight with, like, I don't know, if I started a fight with, like, Ariana Grande, I feel like that would, like, get me so much clout. And, like, but see, I only attack people personally. It's like, I don't want to know, like, Ariana. This is gonna be so bad. I don't want to know Ariana Grande personally. Like, I feel like I'm good. I did hit up her brother at one point, like, to try and get him on here, and I'm like, if I actually was able to make that happen, what's he honestly gonna say? Like,
Right.
I'm like, I
I'm
don't like.
grabbing a charger, by the way. Hope you don't
Yeah,
care,
yeah, you got that.
as I almost fall. Who's the most famous person you've ever got accept?
Um, ooh, are we talking in America or are we talking, like, internationally?
International overall following,
I would
reach,
say,
anything
okay,
like that.
I don't. Well, he has a large following. I don't know if, like, he would be, like, somebody that you would know. So there's this model in Spain named Ramiro Lozano, and, like, he has over, like, 195,000
I can't
followers.
hear you.
Shit.
I don't know why.
Go out and go back in.
Hold on. It like I can't hear you at all for some reason.
Let's see. How about now?
There's like no voice coming through. I don't know why.
Uh,
All I see is the mouth moving. And it's not on my end. Nothing changed on here. Except for the light now.
I think it's okay. Go out and go back in.
I don't know what's happening right now with it. I'm like trying to see. Should I refresh? Okay.
Technical difficulties. Let's see. Where are my pills? Okay. How about now?
Now it works. That was weird.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
I think it's because you put in your charger.
Maybe that's what happened.
So anyway, I'll say okay. Hold on one sec.
I'm about to be taking mine soon.
Yep. Anyway, so the person I was saying, you said, like, most overall following would be Ramiro Lozano. He's like a model in Spain. He has like over 194,000 followers. That's like my biggest internationally. My biggest domestically, I would say Ricky Roman.
I've heard of him.
Yes. Such a sweetheart. Like, and he's coming back at some point for part 2. He's like, he reached out to me. He's like, I'm going through kind of a dark time. It's like, and he said, I hope you consider me sometime in the future. I'm like, baby, I'm here for you. Like, I want to know what's like going on. I don't care like that you can't do my podcast now. I like actually care about you as a person. Like,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, like, the people I've done like astronomically, like, I'll just go down some of the porn, like, Greg McKeon, let's see who else, Evan West, Dalton Riley, like,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, like these are, and my friend who I said like he didn't have like a huge following, but like he was in porn for like a bit, and then like all of a sudden, so his actual name is Matthew Cooper. He went by DeMilo, and then all of a sudden now he's going by Milo Marks, and like he thought, I've evolved, I've changed. Like that was his like thing, and I'm like, as I said, as an artist, he's like, I've evolved. I'm like, bitch, no, you didn't. Like, stop lying to your fans and tell them the fucking truth. Your album, your album was good, but your album flopped. You didn't make any money off your album, so now you have to go make money. Like, stop lying to your fans. Like, you didn't have sort of like this Buddhist like evolution to you. Like, no. You flopped, and like, or you couldn't make money in the real world, so you went back in the modeling world. Like, I will say this, like, my goal as a musician is never to make, well, I shouldn't say this. If I make money as a musician, I would love it, but it's like, if I have to work a regular job the rest of my life, it's like, I will do what I need to do to stay independent. Because the minute I'm sitting there in a boardroom with like 4 fucking assholes in suits sitting there telling me like, okay, what's the next TikTok challenge we're gonna have to blow up your song? I'm gonna be like, fuck all the way off. Like, I'm so out of. I had this discussion with people. Like, I had this discussion with somebody. The minute people say to me, oh, I have to go check with my manager to see if I can do an interview. You have to check with your fucking manager? I'm sorry, are you not a human being? Like, you have to get permission from them. The people you're paying.
I've never had somebody say that to me, but also I don't interview, so.
No. Believe me, I've gotten that. I've gotten it's gonna cost you this much to interview me. The craziest amount, I've said it on here. I have no problem saying this. So, well, okay. You admitted you're older like me. So, you know who Topher DiMaggio is, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Motherfucker asked me for $1,000. And I'm like, bye. Like, I'm not paying you a fucking $1,000 in like.
Yeah.
It's like, you were popping 10 years ago. Like, ain't nobody give a shit about you now. Like, and then the other most amount of money I got asked somebody recently. So there's this show on Out
You
TV
went
called.
blank again. I don't know what. Should I press refresh again?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's so strange
Okay.
because, like, Nothing's happening on my end anymore.
Yeah. Weird. Okay, so I'll finish this quickly because clearly you're having problems, so we should end soon. So like,
Mentally.
it's like, so what was it? I had somebody like, there's this show out called For the Love of Dilfs on Out TV. It's this show where like daddies and himbos like fall in love on TV. When in truth, it's not actually people falling in love; it's people like fake falling in love because it's fucking reality TV.
Who falls in love like it's so stupid? Sorry.
But anyway, there was this there was this cast member, one of the himbos on the show. His name was Keese, like it's like Marquis something, and he's like, "Oh, because he agreed to do the interview on here, and he's like, oh, I hope you're fine with my $100 interviewing fee." And I'm thinking, bitch, no one knew who the fuck you were a year ago. Like, and you're gonna sit there and ask me for $100 to interview you? I'm like,
If Joey Mills asked you for $100, I'm sure you would say yes to that. Like that's different.
uh, maybe. Well,
That would
this is
get a
the thing.
lot of people.
What, Joey Mills?
Yeah. Have you ever thought of hitting him up?
I have hit him up.
Gotcha.
Like, if you name somebody, chances are I've hit them up, and like the next the biggest star currently that I've been in touch with is okay. So you're into porn. Do you know who Hazel Hoffman is?
Probably. It sounds really familiar.
Yeah. So basically, he and I are in like talks. We're gonna see what happens, but that's like the next big star I'm planning on having. But it's I'll interview anybody. Well, I mean, literally, this is just proof of it. It's like you jerk yourself off on Twitter and like OnlyFans. Like, I literally can make something out of nothing. Like,
Yep.
that's why when people are like, when people ask, like, to the RuPaul girls, like, who have you gotten? I'm like, I can't get RuPaul girls. Like, do you know who I am? Like,
Those would have a fee, a very high booking fee.
I don't know. I feel like I could talk my way. I could talk my way out of anything. Like, but this is my thing with that. It's like, for some people, I would like, first of all, if there was a booking fee, you can trust I'm gonna go fund me that shit. I'm not paying my own money to get somebody on here. Like, as I said, I haven't sold out yet. Like, again, I've had some of the biggest names in porn on here. I've also had people who like have done an interview for free, and then I hit them back up and they're like, "Oh, now I'm gonna try and charge you." I'm thinking, bitch, you already did the interview for free. Like,
That's not business sense right there.
no, it's like, to me, it's like, first of all, you were the winner of Go Go for the Gold season 1, and like that seems to have parlayed you into nothing. Because like you're a winner of a show and you haven't gained like more than like 6,000 followers. Like, I don't know. Mess. Anyway. So okay, so I gotta finish this up. So you already answered that. What's your relationship to drugs and alcohol?
I actually don't do any of that. And it's like, oh, he's just saying that like because he's on camera. Like
No.
a glass of wine is almost too much for me. And I think it might be my mom, me, my grandma, and my uncle. If any of us take a shot, like you're gonna have to drive me, like I'm passed out in the backseat of your car. So it's like none of that stuff was ever an option. It was just like, do I want to like vomit and have people carry me upstairs because I had a sip of wine for I don't know if it's a genetic thing, but it happened to all of us.
See, my thing is like drugs I don't do. Alcohol, I'll have a couple drinks like every 4 to 5 months. Like I literally don't drink hardly ever. And the reason for that is as a performer in my like early 20s, I had a night where I was handed drink after drink after drink. I ended up drinking 5 drinks and then a shot on top of that. And then I had to drive an hour home. And then about 45 minutes into the drive, I got pulled over by a cop. Luckily, my dad saved my ass. Otherwise, I would have gotten a DUI. Like,
Right.
so like that kind of stopped. And there's something about being the sober one in the room.
I'm the sober one at bars because I'm
Okay.
enjoying everyone like that, and people are like, "Oh, you don't drink, you don't do any of this." I'm like, I mean, I'll let you could smoke around me, like just don't blow it into my face. I don't give a shit. Like that's not bad. Like go smoke your marijuanas, and I'm not gonna judge you. Yeah, I said
Yeah.
it so weird. Said it like an old person. Go smoke your marijuanas.
Yes. It's like, well, no, you weren't that old of a person. If you would have been an old person, you would have been like, go smoke the devil's lettuce.
Exactly.
Like, old ass 90-year-old person. So, like, with me and all of that, it's like, so the thing was, there's actually this drag queen in my area who has shit talked my drag. And, like, I showed up at an event out of drag and, like, she was drunk off her ass. And, like, when she was working in the room, she was hitting on me. I'm like, part of me wanted to be like, bitch, you fucking know who I am. But I let her do it because I thought it was funny. Like, I'm like, you are so drunk, mama. Like, and she was in her 40s too. And I'm like, isn't your 40s when you're supposed to theoretically, like, have control of your life? Like I'm more like stable than you are, and I'm in my 20s. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, I've always been the designated driver, the person. I think, oh my God, I think I had friends take shrooms in front of me or something, or maybe it was acid, and I was supposed to be like the designated caretaker to make sure they don't do anything stupid. And I'm just there listening to a podcast. Like, I don't
Yeah.
even know what they're doing. I don't know what's going on in their heads.
Yeah. Actually, to my fucked up head, like, so anyway, so I was with my boyfriend down in Fort Lauderdale recently, and he was like drunk, and I was DD, so I was sober like that night. And he was like, "Man, 2001 was the shit. 2001 was amazing." And then like, and then like I started laughing, like, and then he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Except for 9/11." But I mean,
Do you know who's the one who dated Ariana? And he's like dated like a lot of really hot celebrities. Pete Davidson.
yes,
I don't think it was Whitney Cummings. I forget her name, but she's one of my favorites. She's blonde, has like she looks Jewish. Nikki Glazer.
Nikki Glazer, yeah.
Yeah, I think she said like he was jet lagged on a plane, and she goes, "That's the second worst thing that's happened to you with a plane. Remember your dad, 9/11."
See, to me, that's funny. Like,
Same. That's brilliant. That was a great joke.
and it's like now they'd be like, "Oh, you can't say that." I mean, like, granted, I understand certain things. Like, I understand why, like, people can't say T-word jokes anymore, or like, although, although the greatest thing is to be like around older trans women because it's like older trans women don't give a fuck. They say like whatever, and then they're like saying the T word like left and right, and it's like to me, I'm like, you better work, bitch. Like, because it's
I
like
hate to
I'm just
say this. I have to get off soon with my roommate. That sounded
yeah.
so bad. I didn't mean it
Okay.
like that.
Fine. I know we're getting done. I have 2 questions left. I
Don't
promise.
hate me
Okay.
for saying that. I just know he's gonna be mad.
All right. Fine. Then I'll skip to my last question. What's the biggest misconception about you?
Misconception about me?
Yeah. Yes.
Think people maybe think I'm cocky or something. Or like I've had somebody say that I looked mean, but I'm like, this is gonna sound conceited. I'm like the kindest person and nicest person I know. And like I think about everyone else before me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just because I give a bitch face or do something else, like my first husband, I got married once. The way we met, he was at a bar and he saw me walking in and he goes, nice shorts. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. Can I come sit with you? And then he said, I asked you that because I wanted to pick a fight. And he was like, I was in a fighting mood that day and you looked like a bitch. And I was like, oh. And he's like, I didn't expect you to come wife me up and be all sweet.
That would be like that's the ultimate like way of like 2 white people to meet each other. Like one's being shady and bitchy to the other one. That's why like I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, so like for me, I have 2. One of them is that I'm intimidating, which I mean, I get it. Like I'm not the shortest person in the world. Like again, I'm 6'3", so I'm not the shortest person in the world. But it's like have a conversation with me. It's like, yes, I wear sunglasses, not these. These are my interview glasses. The pair that I wear when I go out and like when I perform, they're a pair of my mom's. And like she never lived to see me perform. So it's like I take her energy with me and it's like amazing and I love that. So it's like, yes, they're dark like Ray-Ban glasses, but it's like talk to me. It's like most of the time I'm in a club, I'm in a good mood. Like there's very rarely, except if you try and grab my fucking wig. Don't touch my fucking hair. Like that's I had a motherfucker do that was drunk one time, just ripped my wig off my head, and I'm thinking you're lucky I'm in a good mood tonight, because if not, this shoe would be coming off my head and be going right up
I've
your
had
neck.
somebody grab my face and say you're cute, just like this on the street. And the guy I was with was a security guard for one of the bars. And like, because I'm so twinky, if you're like 6'4" and muscly, you know what I mean? Like, even though I'm not short, I'm gonna die. So like he grabbed the guy like right away. He's like, what the fuck are you thinking? I'm like, I'm so happy I keep these strong men around me.
Yes, that sucks. Yeah, and then the other one is that I've been told I'm shady. Eh, as I said, very opinionated. Like opinionated party of one. Like hello. If I didn't have an opinion, I wouldn't be a fucking artist. Like, so it's like, yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think about you as a performer, but it's like, this is the way I look at it. I'm like, it's like, yes, if I tell you you suck, guess what? Somebody's always gonna need their dick sucked in the bathroom. So it's like, that's what you can go fucking do. There's your talent, bitch. Congratulations.
I'm also a really big crier, which I know like people is like are like surprised by usually. I cry a lot.
Aww.
Just like stupid when it comes to animals. I know that sounds
Oh,
stupid. I like actually like somebody is placing their dog with somebody else in their family.
yeah,
And the dog they were telling me is like so heartbroken because they're not with her anymore. And I'm like sitting
yeah,
there, I'm like about to cry. I'm like, this dog, I don't know. It's like it's having its heart broken.
yeah. I mean, I get it. I don't really, this is gonna sound terrible to say, and like all the animal rights people are gonna come after me. I don't really have like granted, I don't want to see pets die, but it's like I would say I have more compassion for humans. Like when I see somebody like that I would know, I don't know, I would be the person like I've taken in homeless people before. I would do it. Like absolutely. It's like Granted, a lot of the times it's been sexual things, but it's like there's one there's one time I took in a couple that like a straight couple, and they're like they ended up like cleaning my apartment, and I'm like, listen, as long as you clean my apartment, like, and leave whatever you want, I'll absolutely give you a roof over your head. Like,
That's sweet.
yeah, I'm like, that's the kind of person I am. I don't like to see people like in. I don't like to see queer people in pain. It's like straight people. It's like I don't really know how to relate to you. But it's like queer people. It's like, oh, baby.
And the elderly, dogs and elderly for me. Things that can't fight for themselves. Not I don't know why I don't give a fuck about news stories about kids or anything like that. Like they didn't
Well,
even get
because
to experience life. They don't
you don't like kids. You're the one who probably says like how many points to hit that kid.
I do. I love that. It was like, there's no speed bumps around here. Oh yeah, we're near like a little preschool. I love those jokes. I forget who it is. There's a comedian who talks about dropping babies all the time. He'll be like, "Don't worry, everything was okay. No one saw me. The baby died."
Mess. Anyway, so I definitely loved getting to talk to you because I know you gotta go. Like,
We should do this again.
yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely have you back on again. And with that being said, this is Gay Out City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Have a good day, everyone.